Here we are. We are live, everybody. Thanks for showing up tonight for another episode of the Guitar Show. Simon, how's
Hello,
it going?
everyone. Hey, Mark, how are you going?
I said, Simon, how's it going? Now's the where you're.
Oh, this is how it works. So you talk and then I talk. Is that how it works?
Usually
Hi.
it's you talk and then I talk over you. That's normally how it goes.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. My whole brain's not working properly. I still have the flu.
hey, Sandra said kids today. See, that's another what we were talking about earlier, right? The old man yelling at clouds.
Ah, man.
Right?
So today we're going to talk about, was learning guitar easier before the internet or now?
Right. Yes, we're going to talk about that today. Party on, Garth. Hey, Irish Oak, party on. Before we do that, I want to mention one thing, because we usually get somewhere between, last week was a smaller amount, but we usually get between 18 and 30 people on the live stream. But several hundred people watch this on the rebroadcast. So if you're watching this and it happens to be before or on June 16th, 2022. My band, Paradise Vendors, is doing our 25th anniversary reunion show. We haven't played together in almost 20 years, and we are doing a show in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So if you're available, you can go online. If you Google Paradise Vendors, and the venue is called I don't remember the name of the venue, but it's in Bridgeport. That's not a very good public service announcement. It's what is it called? I'll find out before the end of the show. If you're still on at the end of the show, then I'll let you know. Maybe somebody can chime in. Maybe somebody could look it up now. Thanks, Guitar Rabbi. Maybe somebody could look up now and find out when the heck I'm playing. If you do Paradise Vendors in June 16th, you'll find the name of the place.
Park City Music Hall.
Park City Music Hall. That's it. Park City Music Hall. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Paradise Vendors. So June 16th. 25 years, and we're going to do 3 sets. We're going to somehow pull out of our asses. I don't know if I can say that, but I already did. 3 sets worth of material, like 18 originals, 14 covers, and we're going to just go for it. So that's it. That's the end of that. Let's get on with this. Hey, Gabe, what's going on, brother? Glad you're on. Hey, Blake.
Link is in the chat for tickets.
Oh, look at that. You can do links now and stuff like that. That's cool.
Hey.
Technology.
I am the promo king, my friend.
See, I don't know that kind of stuff because I learned to play guitar before the internet. So, that really is holding me back. All right. So why don't we do this? Simon, tell your story. Tell us about how you started playing guitar and what it was like, when you first started learning back in the dark ages.
So in the dark ages, this is going to be very short because it's probably a bit boring, but I'll just touchstones. So I started learning the guitar. I really liked the guitar for some reason. Nobody in my family is musical. I just decided that I was going to give the guitar a go. And the only way to do it in Jersey, in the Channel Islands where I'm from, which is a very, very small island near the coast of France, I know, was to do Friday night lessons at a school with a bunch of other kids in a kind of group situation. But it has to be classical guitar because, rock guitar hadn't hit Jersey in 1981. So me and these other kids sort of sat there trying to, basically doing all this footstool, IMA kind of thing.
Hey, what's wrong with footstool? I've got a footstool right here right now.
Yeah, mate, you're up for it, man. So the one thing I really remember learning is the A minor scale and just being able to play that A minor natural scale and having to go IMA. So that was pretty boring. I did that for 3 years. Such was my commitment to trying to learn the guitar. And then eventually I got jack of that and quit. But I convinced my mum to buy me a steel string acoustic guitar because that was way, way cooler than the nylon thing. And I had a friend at high school, Peter and we basically just tried to learn the guitar. And so we would sit down and put cassettes or records on and just try and figure out songs that we liked. And most of the time that went pretty badly. And then about maybe 6 months after that, my mum bought me this book, the Guitar Handbook.
I want to real quickly go back to the school that you took lessons at. So it was after hours in the back of the school. Did your teacher happen to be Michael Jackson?
No.
Okay.
His name was...
Just checking to see.
Oh my God, I can't remember his name. Stephen... something, but he was he was from Jersey, which is
he was a career criminal.
but he was a classical, full-on classical guitarist.
Okay.
Stuart Hepburn, that's his name. But and you could see he just hated doing this, but it was the only way he had of making money, which was a great introduction to learning the guitar, right? This book, my mum bought me this book, and so me and Peter used to pore over this thing. It's a cool thing, actually. It's got I'm not a buy this book, learn the guitar kind of guitar teacher. I teach people pretty much anything they want to do, and I try and guide them along the way. But this book is awesome. Obviously, I have bias towards it, but it has a section on sort of famous guitar players. Then it has a section on.
Are you in there?
Not yet. No, it was published before I was current.
Got it.
Yeah. I think the most current guitar player in there is somebody called Eddie Van Halen. Anyway, anatomy of the acoustic guitar, how the guitar works, how pickups work, and it was really good. And then it's got a section on playing the guitar, really cool pictures on how it's meant to look to you, which I think is actually a really, really cool idea. So you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if we can get some action going. Whoa, there's the camera. So you actually get to see what the chord looks like to you, which I think is really cool. And then stuff about alternate tunings, a bit of music theory, how to set your guitar up. And at the back, this was like the gold mine. How to play chords and all different variations and voicings of different chords. So we would sort of, we'd put a record on and then basically go like, no, maybe.
Hey, let them see your hand. They can't see your your.
Yeah. So we'd listen to a song, hit. That's not right. That might be right. And we all the time we'd be looking, trying to going like this, and eventually we got the kind of the hang of it. And then we started playing in bands and got better. Then I got to about 17 and I won a guitar comp and I went to go and do some actual lessons. And that was it. I decided I was going to have a go at it.
Well, you were really expeditious at the end of the thing there.
Well, I realized that it was 6 minutes.
I was settling in, thinking that, 12, what was going on at 13 and a half.
I know. And I promised I wasn't going to do that as well.
Yeah. All right. So my story is this. So in 4th grade, my mom forced me to take guitar lessons. So I took 6 lessons and with this beat up guitar that we borrowed from somebody. And that was the end of it. Well, a couple years later, I was watching TV and there was a commercial with Roy Clark that you could learn guitar by putting stickers on the guitar. And I said, that's a good idea. I can teach myself to play with stickers. So I, convinced my dad that I really wanted to do this. So he went out and bought me a $40, an old beat up Telestar. It was a, it was an old beat up Japanese, cheap guitar, and a $90 Rickenbacker amplifier, brand new amplifier, both of them pieces of junk. Even the brand new Rickenbacker amp was a piece of junk. So the funny thing is I never actually ordered the stickers. So I just taught myself. Really, and that's where we're kind of transitioning into. I didn't have any guidance at all. There was nobody that I knew that played guitar. I had no way of learning anything. And I remember one of the first things that I learned or tried to learn was Sweet Madam Blue. And I had no idea that there were chords or that you picked down on a chord. So what I did was I listened to it over and over, and I finally picked out this note. And, an hour later, I got this note. And by the end of the day, I was going. Something like that. And that was it. And then a couple of people that I knew started playing. And, by the time I got in high school, which was in the late 80s, there were more resources and there were more books that came out, guitars, the big box. I think that's a lot to do with it. The big box guitar stores started popping up. And so you could go into a store and you could get books. And I don't know if I borrowed this one from a friend or if I bought this one outright, but so this was kind of my guidance for a while. Similar, not as exciting. It didn't have the history like yours did, but it, had chords and inversions and stuff. So I learned a little bit of that, but I'll tell you, I'm very grateful of the way that I learned to play, because it forced me to write my own songs. Because especially in the 80s, when a lot of the kids that were taking formal lessons were burning it up and shredding and stuff. And, I didn't have the discipline, nor did I take the lessons. So I just wrote my own songs. And that, proved to be invaluable throughout my career because, writing original music is the only avenue really, other than, if you want to become like a cruise ship player and, become like the best cover band in the world. If you're not writing original music, then there's only so far you can go. So let's talk about, so the reason that I thought of this subject tonight is I was watching a video of Rick Beato's, he and Rhett Shull were talking about the, whether or not it's easier to learn guitar before the internet or not. And Rick's premise, I feel like he got a little sidetracked. Rick thinks that it's harder to learn guitar today. And a couple of the reasons that he points out are these days you've got so many resources, you're bombarded with so much, and people don't really know what level they're at. So they waste a lot of time going down the rabbit hole, trying to learn something. There's no connecting one thing with the other. And I agree with that to some respect. I had a friend of mine who one day said, I spent 40 hours last night trying to learn the Johnny B. Good riff, and I'll give this advice out to anybody watching tonight. If it's taking you 40 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours to learn something, then you need to be working on something else, because that's just too much time to spend on something. You could be doing so many other things with that time. So many other valuable things on guitar that you could be learning. But the other thing that Rick really got into, he kind of tangented a little bit and got into the fact that, players these days don't have as good of an ear. And I understand the premise that these days you don't have to, you can just look up a song, any song you want to learn. I do it now. I remember, back about 15 years ago, I was adamant about if a student wanted to learn a song, I remember a song by Slipknot or something, and I was adamant about learning it on the record. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Just go to, whatever, to, Harmony Central and get the tab for it and learn it in 1/10 the time. So I think we all do it these days. There's very few people that actually just go and listen to the record or listen to the MP3.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that. It depends where you get your source material from. My absolute biggest annoyance with the current, I want to learn a song, I'm going to go and get the sheet music kind of thing, is that sheet music, I don't know who writes it, but so often it is either flat out wrong or missing vital components of the tune, right? A little while ago, I had to teach a song "Charmless Man" by the British band Blur, which was a pretty big hit, and it's got this whole riff at the beginning of it. And
play the riff.
I was short of time. I can't remember how it goes. I was short of time, and I just bought the thing. I bought the sheet music, downloaded it, waited for the lesson to come along. Okay, here we go. This is how it goes. And the whole riff at the beginning of the song is not on the sheet music. And it cost me $10 to buy the sheet music.
And this is something that you got, or this is like back, really?
Maybe a year ago.
Yeah, Mike from The Art of Guitar did a video. I just recall he did a video about, what some of the guitar magazines were like, that came out in the 90s. Guitar for the Practicing Musician used to have 4 or 5 tabs in it, and just how poor those were. I'll give a shout out to some of the websites that I think, or some of the YouTube channels. Simon has really good accurate tabs. Number one, that's a great place to start. Another really good resource is Andy from Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. If you really want to take the time, and then it comes to another question too. How important is it to get every little nuance and every little note right of a song? I'm not really a big believer in that. I think if you've got the general, you don't want to be playing it wrong, but if you got the general feel of something down, as long as you're not playing notes that take you away from, where the song is going, then I think that, adding your own bit to it there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, I agree with that. And I always try and teach the original version of the song. From time to time, I get students and they're like, I want to learn this live version from whenever. because he does this really cool extra thing. And I'm cool with just, okay, here's the song, here's the extra thing that the guitar player does in the band that you think is cool, but I'm not going to go through and forensically, you know, learn or tab it or chart every single item from the way Jimi Hendrix played Little Wing in 1969 instead of the original record. You know, like there's no value in that, you know,
Right.
learning. He just happened to do it that time, that one time, right? But you've got to try and get the vibe of it originally. The original record, I think, is important. And then, you know, you can put your own stuff on top.
So, you know, one thing a song that comes to mind is Hotel California. I wonder if just mentioning that gets us blocked. I don't know what the deal is with Henley these days. But so I'm sure when Don Felder wrote the song, you know, he had the capo on 7 and he just started arpeggiating chords. And what he happened to randomly play became the thing that millions of players for the next 40 years are trying to figure out exactly every single note he plays. Now, there are some important, I don't have a capo on now, I don't want to take the time to tune it up, but there are some notes, you know, that are critical to getting that right, but you don't have to get every single note right. I remember there was a guy that said to me, I was voicing one of the notes wrong. You know, obviously with the 12 string, you know, you get repetitive voicings. He's like, no, Felder goes here on that note. I'm like, come on, man. You know, what does that really matter? And then another one that comes to mind is the Bon Jovi song, so a lot of people play it like this. Like that, where actually Richie Sambora slides. And if I don't play it that way, I always get 10 emails. And hey, who cares whether you play it this way? This sounds fine, right? I mean, you know what song I'm playing, not very well there, but you know what song I'm playing. And people would say, you know, you're not playing that right. He actually slides there. And I say, you know what? After 4 hours of playing an acoustic 12 string, you go ahead and try to slide that damn finger down and articulate a good note on it. You know, it hurts my fingers.
Yeah, right. So that's an excellent example because I've got the original sheet music here for Wanted Dead or Alive, and it doesn't have those slides in it at all.
And you could hear him as clear as day. I mean, it's definitely. Yeah. That's how it goes, but
that's 100% right. I wonder if I can share the screen. Whilst we're talking about it, I guess I'll try and figure it out.
Hey, Mark Hilly, one of my students brought up a really good topic. How about Blackbird? Blackbird is a great example because Paul does this unique little, you know, finger flick on Blackbird, and that's a good one too. I typically do that when I'm playing it on a 6 string. When I'm playing a 12 string, I always do the Travis picking because I feel like it does more justice to the string sets. It sounds better on a 12 string doing it that way.
Well, I've taught that song like 8 billion times, and I generally always preface by saying he does this, you know, that.
Yep.
He does that. But you're never, ever going to use that again in anything you ever play.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
You know? And all the sheet music a lot of the sheet music I've seen for that song does have, and it doesn't have.
Yeah. The Bible doesn't have that, and for sure. Hey, you know, you just said something there. I want to bring this up because this is an important point too. So if I have intermediate, more advanced players that know their way around the guitar and they want to do a weird, you know, fretting of something, I don't usually say anything about it. But if somebody is you know, in their first year of playing and they're trying to do some really unique fretting that they would never do again in another song just to get around, you know, an end run around, you know, getting a piece down, I'll usually stop them and say, hey, you know, you really want to try to do this the right way. Take your time and get it down because this is going to be more useful when you play other stuff. You know, it's the thing, you know, you want to, as a teacher, you want to teach people how to fish, not feed them fish. Do you know that? Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
I got that right.
So I guess the internet, not internet thing, the ear stuff, like Andy says, is absolutely spot on. I think that's absolutely spot on. I think, you know, so often I try and teach that ear stuff in lessons. So I actually will pick a song and I'll go, okay, you can try and pick out the chords here. And that is a really useful thing that you don't really have to do anymore, but I think it's still important that you're able to do that to a certain degree. Right?
Yeah, the most important thing, and a great example of this is I was teaching Hilly, as a matter of fact, I was teaching him how many more times. And you have that, you know, is it right after you get acclimated with the guitar and the way it's set up and the fact that everything ascends, right, as you go up the fret. Everybody watching this knows the basics of it. You should be able to hear that box pattern. You should be familiar with that. Know when you're going up and know when you're going down. So that's important. At least those little subtleties like that, absolutely important to be able to hear those little things.
Yeah. So, and I've got to say, like the thing you said at the beginning of your chat there, Mark, about the guy sitting trying to learn Johnny Be Good for 40 hours, because everything is available, you probably shoot for things that are too hard. And because there's nobody kind of leading you or going,
right,
listen, you're going to have to, you know, the first thing you need to do is this, and then try and have a go at that. It's also a bit overwhelming. It's like, you know, if you decided to learn a song, you can probably put that into YouTube and there'll be 3 or 4 people who are trying to teach you how to play that song.
1,000 people. Some songs,
and that's awesome. Well, for some songs, yeah. But that's awesome. And then you'll get, and I've had it as well where, you know, I always try and teach it like as accurately as possible. But you know, for some stuff, particularly the Aussie stuff, actually, there are no other resources other than my own resource. You know, for a lot of the chisel, even the cold chisel stuff. Or
he said Aussie, not Aussie, just in case you guys misunderstood him.
Yeah. So there's no like really big bands over here in Australia. There are no tabs and no sheet music for. So it really is down to me to actually still use the ear to actually learn those things. And you know,
I want to bring up something you said. You brought a point up. So I get phone calls. You know, I teach, and I get phone calls, and the first question I always get asked is, "How much do you charge?" And I literally, this is what I say to the person. It doesn't matter who it is. I say, "You asked the wrong question." They get taken off guard. I said, "You know, you should ask, how long have I been teaching? What's my methodology? How many students do I have?" You know, if you're looking for the cheapest teacher, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best value. You may not even get the most for your money. And I also know a lot of pretty good players that could benefit from lessons. And I'm full, so I'm not trying to market myself to get more students. But the reality is, anybody over the age of, I don't know, 35, you know, should have hit upon the fact right now that your most valuable asset is time. And if you don't see that, you don't see time as your most valuable asset, then trust me, you will eventually, and hopefully you don't, you know, stumble upon it when you're 65 and go, you know, I can't believe I wasted, you know, all that time. And for somebody, I understand that lessons are cost prohibitive for some people, but for those of you that are putting hours and hours and hours, or those of you that lack the discipline, you know, find a good teacher, take lessons. It's worth your time. It's not actually, you're not spending more money. You're wasting less time.
Yeah. And it's just a shortcut. You know, it's
right,
like,
exactly.
so often I have people who've taught themselves the guitar from the internet, maybe 2-3 years, and they get to a sort of not almost like a plateau, I guess. And then they're like, I just don't know how it works next, because there's no guidance on the internet, right? So, you know, you've got somebody to sort of shortcut you doing something which is really wrong, you know. So before we started up, Mark and I have had a chat about, you know, the danger of the tab. So the tabs are awesome because they're an immediate way of learning, which is fantastic. Because it's like, put this finger here, put this finger here. Whereas with regular dots, you know, you have to be able to see, okay, that's a C note. Where's the C on the guitar, kind of thing. So it is prohibitive. Right?
And you have to be able to read the C on the staff as well.
Yeah, that's right. So that's really, really hard. There's a lot of steps to get to there, right? Whereas, you know, you go, oh, 1 on the 2nd string, that's there. So a few years ago, I had a guy came in and he was like, oh, I don't need to learn chords. I just need to learn. I've got tabs, so I know how to play tabs. So you check this out, you know. So that's all I want to do with you. And I was like, listen, mate, this is not how it works. If you just... You know, that is how it works. And Mark is right there. Tabs can't give you the feel of the song because often there's no
duration.
Rhythm.
Yeah, there's no duration on it. Exactly. Yeah, I actually did an experiment. I have a 19-year-old kid I teach that's never heard Day Tripper before, and I put the tab in front of him, just the plain single line tab, and he went like that. That's how he read it because he doesn't know how it goes.
That's why I like these modern sort of tabs that have the sort of the notation.
Yeah, I like that. The modified tabs with the rhythm on them are great. Yeah.
Awesome. So only recently, which is a bit embarrassing, only recently I started writing the digital charts instead of handwriting everything. I always used to extend the, write the tab and then extend the notes underneath. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I've started using Guitar Pro, which has been awesome. I've got to say, it's an amazing program.
It is.
Like
I
tried a few of them. I tried the free one, the Muse Score, I think it was called, but it was a little bit frustrating, a bit clunky. But the Guitar Pro has been amazing, and
yeah, I was in, wow, it's fantastic.
I mean, it's amazing. Like, genuinely, it's changed my life, which is pretty good.
The other thing is a lot of students, a lot of great players don't know what practice looks like. They don't know what it means to practice. And number one, a good instructor should have you, be challenging you without frustrating you too much, right? There should be a little level of frustration because you're being challenged. You got to find that sweet spot. But yeah, the process, and I do this a lot during lessons. If a student is really working, going, all right, they make a mistake, they do it again and again, and the 4th time they get it, I'll go, that's good practice. That's what practice looks like. A lot of students think, let me get this out of the way so I can get my practice started. And they're not realizing that that's the practice. That's what the practice is.
So somebody just before said ear training is this here. Ear training comes with the practice of scales. Hearing them over and over, and it kind of becomes natural. And that is exactly right. So when you're practicing scales, when you're doing those warm-ups or whatever it might be, sing along. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, like that kind of thing. So you're Oh, I've lost my voice, so I can't.
I'd like to hear you sing that in chest voice, please, Simon. Can you sing that one? Can you sing that note, the C, in chest voice?
Mate, I literally can't. I can barely talk. Yeah, so that kind of practice is excellent for ear training and all that stuff. So Cole, you're absolutely spot on. Practice is the hardest thing to learn also.
It is. I spend a lot of time with my students talking about what practice looks like, because I didn't know how to practice for years. I didn't know what practice. And another thing too, and I've said this before, if nothing else, every time you sit down to play, do a chromatic scale. Go, even if it's downstroking. Start with a warm-up exercise or something to get yourself in the mode of some discipline. I mean, how many times, I'm sure you do it. I've done it 3 times this week. I'll sit down, I have the guitar, and I'll start going, just noodling around, for 15 minutes before I get anything productive done. I spend it.
Yeah, that's still the very first thing I do every morning whilst I'm having a cup of coffee is a few of those with a metronome.
Yeah, to the metronome, absolutely, yeah.
Just do that. I do that 10, 15 minutes before I start teaching every day. It's just awesome, Dan. It's such an easy exercise to get going.
There's another thing that one of my students, my student Cole, who's on tonight, had mentioned as well. It's really interesting. As teachers, a lot of times, we want to give value to our students, so we don't spend a ton of time. If we do a lesson on rhythm, there'll maybe be a minute that we're playing to the metronome. We're not going to play 5, 6, 7 minutes straight to the metronome. But part of what you have to get used to as a guitar player, especially if you want to play pop and rock, you have to get used to staying focused and have your attention span. If you're playing The One I Love by REM, you're going to be doing that over and over for 4 minutes. You have to get used to doing that. A lot of times, especially newer students will, okay, I've got that riff down. Let me go to the next riff. Let me go to the next riff. But they don't spend 3 minutes playing it, or they don't play along with the song. Most rock and roll songs are very repetitive, and you even if it's just chucking a chord, you gotta get used to doing that. If you don't practice something as simple as that, you won't be able to do it when you get together with a bunch of people and try to play.
Yeah. So Mark Hill asks, so is it easier or harder? Both.
I think it's far easier to learn these days. You have the resources. You have all the resources in the world. Again, think about the abyss that I was in when I first started playing. I'm sitting there with a GE tape recorder and a cassette tape with a poorly recorded version of Sweet Madam Blue that I had to run over and get, when it came on the radio.
Yes.
And I'm trying to learn 4 notes. So where do I go from there? Back in I was 82. What am I supposed to do? There's nothing. There's nobody to call. There's nothing to do. That's all I had. There's literally no way of learning more than that, getting out of that situation. So these days you have everything at your fingertips. So
so I think the thing that it is harder is the breadth of information, and trying to, like somebody said, how do I sort out what is right and what isn't right?
Sure.
Because
there's too much, you could say. Yeah.
Because everybody is a guitar teacher on the internet, right? I've got a YouTube channel. I'm going to set myself up as a guitar teacher, and there's a lot of people who are great presenters, who maybe aren't great guitar players or guitar teachers. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
Who are on YouTube, right? So it's hard to find that person. Like personally, I've been teaching guitar this year for 32 years, right? And like I've taught a lot of people in that time, and that's been my job forever. Whereas, but I have only a small YouTube channel.
Yeah, they're 3 completely separate things. Being a great player, being a great teacher, and being a great YouTube personality are 3 different skill sets altogether. There's a little bit of overlap, but not as much as you would think.
Yeah,
it really right. You have to learn a lot. As a matter of fact, curiously, when I started the YouTube channel, I played a lot of gigs. I assumed that being comfortable on stage, and I've always been comfortable on stage, it would be the same thing. And I was also comfortable in the studio. I used to, nail stuff. I was always proud of myself for nailing stuff on one take. I'll tell you, when that red light came on and I first started trying to do stuff on YouTube, I couldn't even get my name out. I mean, I literally couldn't even get my, over and over and over again. And then I remember the very first day I did it, I tried to play Mood for a Day by Yes. God knows why I chose that song. Then I should have chose, but I chose Mood for a Day, and I was on like take 38, and finally I was losing my mind and just put it away. It scarred me for I couldn't play that song for a year after that. So they're 3 completely different skill sets. Absolutely. That's why when somebody hangs out a shingle and says, I teach guitar, I've won 3 Grammys, winning 3 Grammys doesn't make you a great teacher.
Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, if anything, if you've won 3 Grammys, you've probably been on the road for years and you probably haven't taught many students.
That's right. I think it's interesting. A few years ago, when I say a few years ago, about 20 years ago, I went to this guy who's really, who was an amazing guitar player. And it was the most dispiriting experience of my life, because he basically told me I was crap and then showed me how great he was. And I paid him for it. How good was that? I've been to this great guitar, he'd been to that place in America, the guitar school. Is it MI something?
Yeah, there's Musicians Institute. There's several. There's one in Atlanta. There's one in Atlanta, one in New York, one in California. Yeah, but see some of these YouTube personalities are charging these days for lessons, $250 an hour. I mean, it's such a waste of money. There's nothing like the best player in the world. Jimi Hendrix is not going to, if you're a beginner, even an intermediate, is only going to teach you so much in 1 hour.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's right. This comment you put up on screen here, that is very dispiriting. So there's always the thing is, I think It's only in the last little while, I'd say probably the last 10 years of playing the guitar. And so, like I said, I've been playing the guitar since 1981, that I literally don't care anymore. Like, I play what I play. I'm okay, pretty good. I'm not the world's best guitar player. And, but I'm happy to improve, you know, like I don't really care if there's some six-year-old Korean kid that can play Eruption.
Yeah.
I couldn't give a monkey.
The world, like Gabe says, the world is at our fingertips, and there's always going to be literally every single day I get an email from somebody that says you gotta check this guy out. He's the best ever. I mean, guys are doing stuff, banging on the guitar, doing stuff now that I don't even know how they could get a sound, you know, and they're who's the guy that Rick had on recently that does all the, you know, he's tapping and doing this, and, you know, it's just unbelievable. I mean,
it is unbelievable, but that shouldn't distract you. And I think maybe the distraction is what we should talk about. So basically, there's lots of stuff. There's lots of people who are amazing, but you've just got to pick discrete parts of that.
Stay in your lane.
Practice those things. Practice sort of level 1. Get the hang of that. Practice level 2. And then you'll come back and you'll play the things at level 1 when you're level 4 and you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe I used to find this so hard. I'm getting better. This is great. And just try not to be distracted by the massive amount of stuff out there. It's very much like the whole gear conversation, which we've had a lot of times, right? Just because there's a brand new distortion pedal or whatever pedal, you know, that's going to get you that sound. How about you learn how to use the gear you have first, and then, you know, supplement it. Do you know what I mean? So learn how all the stuff works that you have. And, you know, you've got a Spark amp or whatever amp, and you have this sort of thing, and you can scroll and you can hit, and there's like 8 million different tone presets. You know, there is always a big fish. Just concentrate on a set thing. So generally in lessons, I always have tell people you need to do a warm-up. We're working on a thing, and then you're working on your repertoire. So I try and get people to have 3 separate books, to have a warm-up book, to have I'm working on this thing book, and a repertoire book. And that way you can split your practice into 3 sections. You do 10 minutes of warm-up, you do 20 minutes of the thing we're working on, you do as long as you like on your repertoire, right? And then that focuses you in on what you're doing, and you don't get distracted and spend 40 hours trying to learn something that is just ridiculously too hard.
Sure. I was just thinking, you know, a guy like Matteo Mancuso, how many kids now are trying to play, you know, like he does with their fingers, you know, like that? I mean, that's a literally 1 in a billion player, you know. You just gotta, everything that Simon says is absolutely right. You want to increase your odds of getting better too, right? I mean, you don't want to be stuck in start. So, you know, take the advice of people that have been doing this for a while, and you know, you're probably going to be better off than you are just following some. And I'll tell you what, one other thing I want to say, you know, I get, obviously, you know, once you get a little bit of success on YouTube, you get all the crazies come out and write all these nasty things. And I say to people, it's a lot harder. It's not rocket science to do this, but it's harder than you think to get up there week in and week out and to make these videos. And I'm not trying to blow my own horn, but it's, you know, it definitely takes a little bit of practice getting in front of the camera. This is easier. This is much easier for me than
we always talk about that, hey?
The video, because it's, you know, I feel the vibe talking to you, and you know, and I see everybody on here tonight, and I appreciate all of you that have been on tonight. I'm not very good at typing and speaking, collecting my thoughts, you know, because I'm a product of the 80s and 90s, of which, so we're gonna transition here. We're gonna do a giveaway here. We're gonna give away a $25 Amazon gift card. And we've got a couple trivia questions, 80s trivia questions. So the first question is, and it's 80s trivia, so that'll give you a little bit of a hint. What is the best-selling computer of all time? And whoever comes up first on the chat here, that I'm just filling dead air here. I don't know how long it's going to take, so I'll keep going. So you got to figure out. Now, I didn't have this computer myself. My father got me one that was a little pricier, and I probably didn't do a whole lot with Apple, Mac, Apple II. I had the Apple II. That's the one I had. So no, it's not the Apple II. I thought it was the Apple II or the Mac as well. Atari, that's a Commodore 64. Bob got it right. Correct. Commodore 64. And all right, the second question. In the Terminator, or I think it was Terminator 2. The question said in the Terminator, but I think this was Terminator 2. Correct me if I'm wrong. The line, I'll be back. So
Mate, that was impressive.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah, I don't have sunglasses. What was the original line? What was the original script? HAL 9000. That's good.
Yeah, that's funny.
So what was the original line for I'll be back? So wait on that one. All right, now I got to think of a third. While I'm doing that, I'll think of a third question.
You think of a third one. I'll be back.
Do you have any good Australian question?
No, I have to predestine this thing. This stuff.
I've got one. I've got an Australian question. Okay, there's a movie. An Australian accent for that, Mark. I need an Australian accent. My stepson does a good Australian accent. It's from the original Terminator. I'll be back, I guess. Okay.
He's Austrian, right?
Somebody says it was in Running Man. I don't think it was in Running Man. It was in Terminator.
Yeah,
but anyway, so there's a movie, and it's actually a pretty good movie. And the movie's got a really bad title because you would think this movie is a science fiction movie, but it's not. The movie is about this kid whose family goes off a cliff in an RV. And so the kid is raised in the Australian outback by this old guy. The old guy is played by, actually, this happens to be William Holden's last movie. William Holden takes this kid through, and Ricky Schroeder is the kid, takes him through the outback. Does anybody know the name of that movie? That's the third question.
Oh my God.
And again, the movie, you may have turned it off if you're like me and you don't like science fiction. You may have not even gone for the movie. It's actually a pretty good movie, though. So we'll wait on that one. I'll have to ask another. I'll come back. Right. Richard, you got it. Okay. And so now we've got to do a tiebreaker. Let's see who gets this other one, this other question. If anybody gets the third question. Born Wild is not, no, that's not the answer.
Is that right? No.
You got to think what movie sounds like it would be a science fiction movie. I also gave it to you. You can just Google what was William Holden's last movie.
Oh, don't do that. Don't Google that. That would be.
Well, I mean, people obviously at this point don't know it. So.
No, I don't know.
All right. So we'll have to do. Let's see if we get something else here. I'll have to ask another 80s. Oh, I got it. Here's one. Here's a Google proof one. What girl did I like in 5th grade? Anybody gets that one, I'll be really impressed. Nobody will know. The Earthling. There we go. All right. So we've got Irish Oak.
Earthling.
Yeah, we've got 3 people now that are in the finals here. We've got Bob and Richard and Irish Oak, or all one of the 3 of them will win the gift card. So let me think here. I got to find something good here. It's got to be something numeric. That way they can all guess, and whoever gets closest.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like,
What do you think?
how many guitars do I own?
There you go. And bonus question, you don't win anything for this, but bonus question is, what song is played at the beginning of Back to the Future? And how many guitars does Simon own? So the 3 guys, Bob and Richard and Irish Oak, if you guys
have one guess each, I guess that's how it's going to work, right?
Whoever gets closest to it. Yeah, they all. So, all right, Bob says 11. And Sandra. So other people are answering. That's fine. You can all pitch in. But
you can all pitch in. But
Power of Love. Good job, Jeff. Power of Love. Right. All right. So it's a very anticlimactic way to end this. All right. Irish Oak says 15.
So
we've got 11 and 15. We're still waiting for Richard to
Richard said Johnny
is in the movie, but it's later in the movie. There's a great scene where the guy says, "Hey Chuck, you got to check out this new sound this kid has." All right. We're waiting on you. Rich, waiting on you. This entire broadcast is going into overtime because of you, Richard.
You need that kind of.
You don't want me to start doing jokes, appropriate jokes. All right. I guess we're not. Hey, thank you all of you. All right. So did either of them get it right? I guess Richard is not going to participate in this.
No. So let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 guitars.
Oh, so he couldn't have won anyway because Bob got it right on. Bob, shoot me an email and I will get you a $25 gift card. I really appreciate all you on tonight. And if anybody, email me, markabernelli@gmail.com. Can you put that in the thing? I think most people know my email, but if you don't have, if you guys have something you want to see on the guitar show, we'll be happy to take some suggestions. If you want us to do a particular lesson or you want us to talk about a particular subject, we will take your suggestions.
Yeah.
And with
that I'm just putting up the thing.
The Earthling.
I can't. Your email isn't in there, Ben. Mark at.
Yes, movies and stuff, of course. Best looks of the 70s. That's a good one. Best looks of the 70s. What is the best lick of the 70s? That's tough. Life in the Fast Lane. Life in the Fast Lane has to be up there. That's such a great riff. I really like that one.
It is a good one.
We'll have to. All right, maybe riffs of the 70s is good. Maybe we'll do that one. Like maybe like Funk 49. You know what riff I like? I like the riff to School's Out too. Bam ba bam bam ba bam 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 bam. That's a good one too. All right, with that, everybody have a good week.
Yeah.
I will be back next Saturday with the new video. We had a little snafu here at the Rinaldi household, so I was prevented from doing a video this week. I apologize, but don't leave me though. Continue to tune in on Saturdays at noon and every other Saturday at 8. Simon and I will be back in 3 weeks this time because I have a gig next weekend or next. I'm going to be away. We've talked about that already. So
yeah. So. Yeah, and so over at my channel this weekend, I teach the acoustic classic More Than Words.
More Than Words by Extreme.
Yeah.
Who's the guitar player for Extreme? Nuno Betancourt?
Oh, what a guitar player that guy is. He's terrific. And such lovely hair.
I'm going to leave everybody with this. This is true. Susie Quattro's real name is Susie Quattro. Is that not a cool name to be born with?
Sure,
that's
Susan
Quattro. Yeah, Susan Quattro. But what a cool name, right? All right. Goodbye, all. Be safe.
Bye.
Take care. See you soon.